Emotion trumps reasoned discourse, while politicians score points with anger.
Hell no, you can't!
Many Americans feel that politics has become far too polarized in this country, and there's wide public cynicism about the politicians themselves. The people they do seem to trust are the comedians. So I've come to this theater in Washington to meet one of them, Louis Black.
I really am sick of New Year's anyways.
Black has drawn a sellout crowd, and at least one fan thinks very highly of him.
Black for president! No, I'm not going to run for president. I don't want to live here.
Who is Black?
Black is popular because of his regular appearances on a mock news program called The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
$500 million on a school?
Stewart and Black belong to a breed of American gagmen who have made a name for themselves ridiculing politicians and the media. Black says it's important to expose the hypocrisy of politicians.
I think that you have to constantly remind people that these idiots aren't wearing clothes. Seriously! What kind of idiot just walks into the school and says, I'm totally unqualified?
Black's trademark is his anger and perplexity at the political process and the way it's portrayed by television news.
I represent on stage someone who's actually trying to figure this out and is confused and frustrated. And you can, that I don't really have an answer. And when I do have an answer, it's so over-the-top psychotic that... And sometimes it's just so honest.
Comics are shaping public opinion in this country like never before. Surveys show that young Americans especially increasingly watch comedy shows as their main source of news. Colette Fozard says Black's comic take on the news is useful.
He can sort of point out the hypocrisy in a lot of what's going on. And for me, I know it kind of makes me start to think about it.
Politicians are taking note of the comedian's popularity.
It's paralyzed and it's designed for you to take...
President Obama has already been on The Daily Show several times to discuss serious policy issues. And several weeks ago, another comedy show host, Stephen Colbert, was invited to testify in Congress about migrant workers.
I am happy to use my celebrity to draw attention to this important, complicated issue.
So glad it was.
The comedian's influence is growing at a time when traditional news media are losing their audiences. Marvin Kalb spent 30 years working for CBS and NBC News. He says some comics are gaining the kind of public esteem traditionally given to a network news anchor.
The problem becomes, are they the principal source of information for the country? Do they begin to move in and occupy the place that Walter Cronkite occupied or Edward R. Murrow occupied? The unfortunate answer now is yes. They are occupying that space. The danger there is that people begin to take it too seriously, and they begin to think that the joke is the reality.
Jon Stewart of The Daily Show and Stephen Colbert of The Colbert Report say they want to restore sanity in American politics. So they're urging their nationwide audiences to come to a political rally here on the National Mall this weekend. The rally will be a gauge of how much influence jokesters like Stewart and Colbert have on the governance of this country, and that's no joke. Jerome Socolovsky, VOA News, Washington.